Where the hell are my flipping tools? Oh, here they are. Hi, I'm Harvey, and I'm going to show you how to tighten the chain on a Yamaha wr125x, or any chain that comes with these little bits that stick out here that you see on the WRX. It's quite an easy process. It really gets overcomplicated, and garages will typically charge you for it when it's really a 2-minute job. But there are a few things to get right. Let's get into it. So our first step in order to tighten the chain is to loosen the rear axle nut here. On my WR, all WRs in common, it's a 24mm socket. Strap it onto the ratchet, left to loosen, right to tight. So obviously we're going to loosen the rear axle here so the rear wheel can spin freely. Something like that. I'm not a mechanic. If it goes wrong, please don't sue me. But yeah, so left to loosen, bring it on, onto the right side. You may need to hold down the opposite side with a 27mm. However, on mine, it's fine. You might need to hold it down though. So we're going to start off pushing down, forward. Oh Christ, that's a bit tight. Oh, there we go. Shouldn't be too tight. So we're literally just going to loosen that rear axle nut, not taking it off completely, just loosening up. Alright, so now the rear wheel is moving freely. In order to tighten the chain, we need to push the adjusters back or forward in the way we want to come. In this case, we're trying to push the adjuster here, or the rear wheel back, in order to stretch out the chain and tighten it. All this requires is two 12mm spanners. We're going to hold down the one which is right onto the plate here. We're going to hold that to keep it in place, and what we're simply going to do is loosen off the lock nut, the one right at the back. So the 12mm, bring it down, and I said again, left to loosen, right to tighten. So just going to loosen off that back nut. This nut's now spinning freely, and that's the lock nut to keep this nut in place. In order to tighten the chain now, what we're going to do is use that 12mm on the front nut here, right to tighten, left to loosen, and with the right we're going to spin it up to our desired point, and then once we've got it at a nice point, we've seen the chain is adjusted upwards, we're going to push this lock nut forward, bang that rear tyre in to make sure the lock nuts are nice and close and tight in, bring the back nut onto the front nut. Talking a lot about nuts today. And then we're going to hold the front nut in place whilst tightening the back one to make sure everything's nice and locked up tight. You're going to repeat the same process on the opposite side to make sure both of the swing arm is in alignment. Alright, so in order to make sure everything's safe before we go out riding, we're going to make sure this rear wheel is perfectly in alignment on both sides. The easiest way to measure this, especially if you're like me and don't have sort of precision measurement tools, is to check the chain adjustment markings on each side of the swing arm. Count the numbers of where your plate matches up to and correspond those to the other side. For example, here I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 adjustments, and the opposite side I have 5 adjustments as well. So the rear wheel is perfectly in alignment now, and that won't cause excess wear and tear on your chain and sprockets over the time. Once that's done, the chain's adjusted, it's been tightened, we're simply going to tighten up the rear wheel this time. And there we go, the chain is tightened. But there's a few processes we need to go to before we can go out riding. It's also very important to make sure the chain isn't too tight or too loose. The Yamaha owner's manual specifies a 1.5 to 2 inch play in the chain up and down. However, when the rider sits down, the rear shock will become depressed, and then from that the chain will tighten. So the best way to gauge if a chain is in good adjustment is to get it with the rider sat down and see what the play is in measurements. Personally, I find the easiest way to do this, if you don't have someone about and you just got to get out on your ride, is to stand the bike up, push down on the seat to depress that swing arm, and then from there use the spanner to give a rough adjustment of how much play there is in the chain. From there we have about an inch, maybe an inch and a quarter, which personally I like to run and haven't had many problems with it. So there we go. That's how to tighten the chain on a Yamaha wr125x. It's also important to make sure before you tighten the chain that you find the loosest spot on the chain. As you go around the chain, there will be spots where the chain becomes looser. For example, I could roll this bike forward now and the chain may become tighter and looser. You should only tighten a chain from its tightest point. That's to make sure the chain isn't overly excess wear and tear, and to make sure it lasts longer and isn't overly stretched and put too much pressure on it in terms of stress. So yeah, that's it. Thanks for watching. I hope you guys can save some money from the garage now, and that's how to do it without using a paddock stand. Basic set of tools you can go pick up from your basic DIY store for 5-10 quid, and you can save yourself a lot of money in the long term and feel like you're a mechanic like me when I'm not. So yeah, any questions, comments, leave them in the description, not the description, the comment section. And thanks for watching. I will upload more videos when I can. Thank you.